biggest challenges are not hunger, are not climate, are not poverty, biodiversity loss, wars, terrorism, etc., etc., etc. But our capacity to design new ways to organize ourselves globally to solve them. That's actually our biggest challenges. As we know that one of the most important goals of the foreign policy, as we know so far, is to enhance, to promote, to empower the global peace and stability. Those things should be embedded in our brains. What is that? Enhance the global peace and stability. We do realize that many efforts have been made to prevent the storage, transfer, development, or testing of various types of weapons. We do realize now that world now has a various types of weapons. And of course, that may endanger global security. This effort actually should be seen in the light of those objectives. And we do realize that as we know that another goal, and that's very least traditionally, what is that? To minimize the destructive power of various types of weapons against humanity. Remember, against humanity. So in this case, considering the developments in the global security, particularly in terms of armaments, the political and diplomatic role in empowering the function of all existing supervisory regimes and global foreign policy still need to be proven. Why still need to be proven? Yes, because not implemented enough yet. So in this case, students, defense diplomacy class, attitudes, policies, initiatives continually urge countries around the world to cooperate in the process of global arms monitoring and disarmament, which is increasingly demanded to be done promptly, as soon as possible. Therefore, after some time of not taking stance international, I think not taking a stance of internal condition related to the arms monitoring disarmament, it is now time to start doing. Again, an essential aspect to be evaluated is how much influence. We are talking now about the sphere of influence. Okay? How much influence all the resolutions and decisions produced can have on the policy-making process. Remember, policy-making process. By whom? By each country, individually. Because we are now living in the kitchen of the international kitchen. So the reason is clear right now, that the global political entity that processes qualities to the world government, making the role of the parliamentary bodies of the member states in implementing the result of resolution and other decisions towards the respective governments highly necessary, highly needed. We are talking now about the foreign policy. Next slide, please. What is actually the meaning of the foreign policy? Foreign policy is essentially an action theory, nation strategy. When we are talking about foreign policy, it means we are talking about specific interests. We are talking about national interests. So in general terms, foreign policy is a set of principles, as I mentioned from the beginning, attitudes, directions, and goals aimed at safeguarding, securing, and advancing national interests in the context of international relations. One way to understand the concept of foreign policy is by dividing into two components, politics and foreign affairs. Politics here, policy. So policy is a set of decisions that serve as guidelines for action or a set of action aimed at achieving pre-established goals. But policy itself is rooted in the concept of choices, choosing action or making decisions to achieve the goal. So clear, right? We are talking about policy, it means choices. On the other hand, the notion of sovereignty and the concept of territory, when we are talking about the territory, Indonesia is the most articulate country on the planet, consisted more than 17,000 island inhabitants and inhabitants. That's our territory, our sovereignty. So the notion of sovereignty and the concept of territory help in understanding the foreign component. Sovereignty means control over territory within a country. So in this case, we may conclude that foreign policy implies a set of guidelines for choosing actions directed beyond a country's territory. Understanding this concept is necessary to differentiate, Differentiate between foreign policy and domestic policy. Remember, that cannot be denied that the formulation of the foreign policy is always linked to the consequences within the country. What the Henry Kissinger said. What is actually the Henry Kissinger? That foreign policy begins when domestic policy ends. In other words, the study of foreign policy lies at the intersection of a country's domestic aspect and the international external aspect of its life. Therefore, the study of foreign policy cannot overlook the structures and processes of both the international system or external environment and the domestic political system. So that's our challenges. How to separate foreign policy from domestic policy. Because it will be interconnected with each other. Okay, next slide, please. We are now talking again the definition of the foreign policy. Foreign policy has been defined in the various ways, actually, as Joseph defines the foreign policy as the key element in the process by which a country that translates its broadly conceived goals and interests into a series concrete action to achieve this objective and secure its interest.